Hello everyone. I would say on to lighter topics, but the economics of the world, the economic problems of the world are not a light topic. I said I would do a video about the, Kraganmore. Not a video about Kraganmore, but about the problems facing China. Well, I'm not worried about China becoming the world superpower. Gonna have to run through this quickly. Started at 7:57, so I've got a little over 8 minutes left. Let's see what we can do. Okay, first of all, the big thing everybody worries about, oh, China owns so much U.S. debt. Well, they bought it with U.S. dollars because the United States does not issue debt in foreign currencies. So where did China get all the dollars? And why did they do this? Well, they did it, they are doing it, to keep the value of their own currency, the yuan, and please forgive the pronunciation error, artificially low compared to what the market would set it at. Well, and the way you do that is you say that you will sell an infinite amount of your currency. You will meet any demand at your target price. All right? So that effectively becomes the market price because you're the lowest seller. You're the cheapest seller. As to why they would do this, it makes Chinese labor, Chinese manufacturing, yada, 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 all the associated expenses with exporting cheaper. And it makes them a very desirable country to set up factories in, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So what we have is a very simple question. Where did China get all of the money? Primarily through taxation, through then selling those dollars purchased from export purchases or whatever currency the export purchases were paid for in. And so what you have is China has a big hole in its balance sheet because they're essentially pumping their domestic currency out of the country. And all their foreign reserves they can't spend in the country. So China is in kind of a bind. They are forced to, in order to meet, and I say that because the Chinese gross domestic product and employment figures are, let's just say, tweaked. Because a real economy does not meet, even a command economy does not meet its stated goals like clockwork. There is variation. And you either miss high or miss low. And high would be good news for them. They would release that. And if they wanted to manipulate the results to, I don't know, I'm not going to speculate on that, but let's just say I doubt their official figures. So basically, the only way they can get out of this is to let the value of the yuan rise. This will make workers more wealthy. This will, allow for greater possibilities of spending, greater importing of goods, all kinds of stuff. Wonderful stuff. But wait, there's a problem with that. Two problems. One is the Chinese government is currently spending trillions of yuan of their currency on domestic infrastructure projects, roads, houses, cities. There's a huge real estate boom in China. the Three Gorges Dam, the Chinese military is being built up to an incredible amount. All this costs money to maintain. And unless a miracle happens, and unless the Chinese people are betting on the Chinese yuan becoming strong and the dominant currency and this and that and the other thing, that infrastructure is going to cost more to maintain than the counterbalancing economic good it produces, or economic value it produces. And unfortunately, the Chinese are betting against the yuan. They are betting on the export economy that is making them prosperous. And I'm not talking about conscious decision, I mean the investments they make only make economic sense either if you're into commodities. Let me not even get into the corruption of the Chinese banking sector, where they did stupid amounts of loans. And most of those loans were dumped into commodity speculation, causing the spike last year. The spike in commodities prices, everything's beginning, and now you're starting to see it taper off. Because the Chinese cut the loans, the prices of the commodities are dropping, meaning those loans that were made will not be paid back. Yet another hole in the Chinese balance sheet, to the tune of about 350 billion yuan. And the biggest problem is the fact that what I think of as the civilian economy is betting the same way as the government economy. Because that way the balance sheet of the government and the balance sheet of the population do not balance each other out. South Korea, during the big Asian economic crisis, the government of South Korea was betting one way, the populace was betting another, so the country as a whole, the country's bets were hedged. For an example of how that can go wrong, Japan in the late 1980s, the government was betting on the cheap yen and exports, and so was the population. So when the real estate prices spiked and people started, basically it was eerily reminiscent of the Inland Empire in California, how the prices went insane beyond anyone's imagining, and basically the most expensive real estate on earth was in office buildings in Tokyo. But they were betting the same way. So when all of a sudden the yen stagnated and the dollar faltered a little bit, and we had the back and forth economic problems, suddenly the domestic economy had nowhere to go. And Japan has spent the last 2 decades stagnating. And the reason why I think this is going to happen to China is because there is only one source China has to support a revalued currency. And that is through taxation, either direct or indirect. So what's going to happen is that the value of the yuan is going to go up one way or another, whether artificially through trade barriers or directly by the Chinese no longer manipulating their currency. And I do not mean the Chinese people, I mean the Central Bank of the People's Republic of China, just to be specific. So even as China is trying to boost its domestic economy and tone down the export economy, they're going to be putting a drag on what they are trying to build up. I don't think we're looking at a new world order. If anything, I think we're looking at the end of the superpowers, at least for a few decades. Thank you for your time and attention.